Are you ready for a show that talks sports from the fans' point of view?
We've seen Michael Jordan score 37 points a game in his era. How many could he score in today's NBA?
There's not a player out there who I'd rather have than LeBron James.
Are you ready for a show that isn't afraid to challenge anyone when it comes to sports? If Adam Silver really wanted to fix tanking in the NBA, he would stop rewarding teams by giving them the best chance to win the draft lottery.
I mean, how many times will Roger Goodell drop the ball on handling domestic violence in the NFL?
Look, athletes have every right to talk politics, but if the fans stop tuning in, that's their right.
Then you're ready for Talk Back, a podcast where two fans debate the media narrative and discuss the world of sports as we see it.
Welcome to the show.
We're back for another high-flying episode of Talk Back. I'm one of your hosts, Eric Nesbitt, and with me is Justin Gay, your host and director of content. This week, it's all about Tiger Woods and the Masters in segment one. That is a huge topic. I know both of us were highly interested in that this past weekend, and one of us predicted that Tiger Woods would go on to win the green jacket, so we need to discuss that. It's a huge story, not only for us, not only for the world of golf, but really, Justin, for the world of sports as a whole. So we're going to take up segment one, reviewing that Masters tournament, which I think was fantastic. And then we'll flip it over to the hardwood in segment two. We'll talk about the NBA playoffs. We're only 1 and 2 games through a lot of these matchups at the time that we record here on Tuesday night. But there are some things that we need to react to and a big injury concern for one of the teams and one of the players that we've brought up over the past few weeks. Then we'll hit up a little bit of NASCAR news, what fans reacted to as far as the action at Richmond. And then Russell Wilson signs a huge new deal with the Seahawks. We want to react to that as well right here on episode 243 of Talk Back.
All right, we are back. Let's jump into this Masters tournament from this past weekend. Eric is icing his shoulder down after giving himself a large pat on the back since Sunday. But, Eric, last week on the show, you successfully called it, man. You called Tiger to win this thing. And look,
I did.
We're huge Tiger fans, but you haven't been all in on Tiger winning these majors. He hasn't been the guy that you've picked in every single one of these things since he's been back. And now you get to sort of beat the drum that you got it right. This is really the first time that you've jumped out and said, you really thought this was Tiger's weekend to win. So outside of his history at Augusta, what did you see that made you think this was the weekend that he broke through with major win number 15?
Yeah, I think that's a great question because a lot of people have asked me that, not only people on Twitter, but even friends who I have been talking about Tiger for 2 weeks winning the Masters. A lot of people told me I was downright crazy. But I'll tell you, there was a couple of things that I saw. One of them was the fact that through this PGA season, he hasn't finished worse than 30th, and that was at the Players' Championship where he's kind of hot and cold. Obviously, he's won the Players' Championship before, but that's a course that will eat him alive if he just sprays a few tee shots. So he still only finished 30th there. Not a horrible finish, but not a great finish. Outside of that, though, you're looking at a guy who in the Dell Match Play Championships finished tied for 5th and really, outside of a couple of boneheaded moves on that last hole that I think he wishes he had back, he could have finished much higher than that. And then at the World Golf Championships, another huge event down in Mexico, he finished 10th. Down in Riviera, tied for 15th. Down in Torrey Pines, tied for 20th. This guy's been playing well all season long. And I also feel like he's made intentional moves to rest himself. I mean, he sat out at Bay Hill with a little bit of neck strain, and everyone was kind of wondering, oh, is this an injury? Is this a bad thing? It turns out it wasn't really that big of a deal, but I think he was playing the long game here. He was saying, yes, I've won Bay Hill a gazillion times, and I love that tournament, but if I need to sit out, the long game here is I need to prep for the Masters. I need to prep for the PGA, obviously the US Open and the Open Championship. That's where his career is at right now at 43 years old. And I was just seeing signs that led me to believe that his mindset was that he believed in himself that he could win this, and his game, especially off the tee, was backing it up. I know a lot of our listeners listen to what we were talking about last week as far as which guys could do what, where their strengths were. And I think one of the things I said was that if Tiger could keep it between the navigational beacons off the tee, he's very hard to beat with his iron game. And I think that's just in what we saw on Sunday in the back nine especially. You look at his iron game and you look at how smart he played Augusta. He really played that course smarter than the guys that were chasing him. Didn't fire at flags, put the ball in necessary positions. Look at hole 12 where 4 guys dumped it into the water and he hits it to the middle of the green. I think that kind of experience coupled with how he was playing just led me to believe that this could be the time, and I was all in. And even in my high money fantasy league where you can only pick a guy one time throughout the whole year, I had saved Tiger Woods, and I did use him last week in that league as well, and it paid off big time.
I tell you, I felt like there was just watching that tournament, even watching it from Thursday on, it just felt different. He just seemed like he had such a confidence in his game, even after Thursday doing the interviews. He just felt like when you were watching those interviews take place, there was something about him in those moments where there was just like this calmness about him where it's like he knew. And then even Saturday coming off the 18th, he kind of had the sly grin on his face. And that's what you and I had a text thread going where we were just group texting about the Masters. And I even asked you guys, like, when did the players actually know that it was going to be an early start and it was going to be groups of 3 versus 2? Because it felt like Tiger knew right then that the guys that were right around him, he was going to be playing with, and the guys he was going to be right behind that group in front of him with all of his competition. 5 different competitors were going to be right in an earshot of everything he did. So when he made these runs, when he made incredible shots, when he made big swings in his game with that birdie putt, things like that, everybody was going to know it. And it just felt like there was just an air about him that he knew that these guys were going to come back to him. It was almost like a boxing match, like a little rope-a-dope. Like, you go out there, I'm just going to continue to play my game. I'm not going to do anything too crazy. I'm not going to try to win this thing on the front 9. I'm going to let you guys come back to me. And then as you're falling, I'm just going to still be climbing.
Oh, for sure. I think that's a phenomenal point. And I'm not actually sure when the players did know. I don't know if they were told during their round on Saturday or if they were finding out. Obviously, we found out as spectators on television much earlier than
it was about,
they did.
The middle of the round, right?
Yeah. I mean, we knew halfway through the round on Saturday. I don't know if the caddies knew or if the players knew. I would think that would be something that they would want to tell them, but maybe not, because, you know, there could be an advantage or an unfair advantage depending on when guys find out versus when guys don't find out. Plus, some players had already played. Maybe they weren't told until after. I don't know, but I definitely see what you're talking about. I feel like it's a great point that when you put 6 guys, because they were in threesomes, that close to the roars, which are unlike anything else for a guy like Tiger Woods. And you saw what happened on 12. I mean, the buzz was happening. 4 guys hit it in the water. Tiger doesn't. You just start to feel that roar, that rumble that starts to move throughout the crowd. And yeah, there were guys trying to make a move. I mean, give all the credit in the world to guys like Patrick Cantlay, who was my sleeper last week, by the way, Brooks Koepka, Ricky Fowler, Francesco Molinari, Tony Finau, and the list could go on and on because that leaderboard was absolutely stacked and phenomenal.
It was stacked.
Right from Thursday's action. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better Masters. And I think that's one thing that people need to look at this as one of, now that he's won 15 majors, one of his best majors ever, not only because of the comeback story, but these guys didn't fall away like they used to for Tiger Woods. This isn't Tiger winning Pebble Beach by 12 strokes. This is Tiger beating 6 or 7 or 8 guys that legitimately had a chance with 9 holes remaining on Sunday. And he stood the test. He stood up to all of them and made the smart moves coming down the stretch there. So yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but I think you have an excellent point there that this was an advantage, I think, for Tiger to have 6 or 9 guys within earshot of what he was doing on the golf course, because as we know, Tiger's 12th man, as they say in Seattle for the Seahawks, I mean, Tiger's 12th man is really the 100,000th man, which is all of those fans that just love it when he does this kind of thing.
Yeah, and it could have been something that was talked about as a potential idea or something that could happen based on the weather. They knew the storm system was coming in. So, and again, none of the spectators have cell phones. And so you wonder about that. It's not like the caddies had that. So, you know, if a rules official was letting them know, or they just talked about even pre-match potentially that this was something that could happen on Sunday. It just felt like Tiger knew something that everybody else didn't when he got up on 18. And again, he just kind of carried himself with that air of confidence. But Eric, take this back to Friday. there was almost like a Steve Bartman type moment in the Masters where you had a security guard. Tiger's over. He's in the spectators. He hits a shot out. And then all of a sudden the shot kind of cuts from Tiger, but you see him start limping. And it was like, oh God, what did he do? And then they cut to the replay and you're thinking, oh no, he stepped on a spectator's fan who ran up, and it's a security guard, someone who's there to protect him, that slipped on the grass. And Eric, if he is probably 2, 3, 4 inches more to the inside, I mean, at best case, Tiger probably has a sprained knee. At worst case, I mean, who knows with the force that guy was coming in.
He could have knocked him over. He could have taken his legs out and knocked him over completely.
Yeah, he could have knocked him over. He could have pinned his knee and done some kind of ligament damage. I mean, you see that all the time in the NFL, guys getting hit in the side of the knee and the damage that can be done with it. But to have this moment, what we saw on Sunday, and to think about the fact that this could have all been taken away by a security guard is pretty phenomenal when you actually, now hindsight 2020, step back and think about that moment.
I hate to think of it, honestly, because, you look at guys like Bartman, guys like that who have done just crazy little things in the moment, not even thinking about it. And then the consequences for them personally are so huge.
And Eric, that was in a non-social media world too.
Yes. This poor guy would have had to go under witness protection from the FBI. I'm confident of it because, and that's a sad state of our affairs. I understand that. But I mean, if he takes out Tiger Woods in that moment and changes the course of history, this poor guy really needs to go into hiding. I mean, this could have been awful, and thankfully it wasn't. I'm a little bit shocked that Tiger went on to birdie that hole just from where he was, but I think that was also a pivotal moment because Tiger is a little bit like some of these other guys. I'll name LeBron as guilty in that, where you never know quite what those twinges, like how painful are they really? Because it can also play into the mystique. I think sometimes LeBron will twist his ankle and it would be one of those ones where you can just walk it off and it's no big deal. And he'll grimace for the next 10 minutes. That way, when he scores 20 points in the next quarter, you think he's amazing. And Tiger has been guilty of that before. I mean, he's had legitimate injuries, but he knows how to play that up. But I think when he played it up a little bit, walked down the fairway, made birdie, it was like, I'm not going anywhere, people.
The only thing I could think, to your point, was here's a guy in today's society, if he hurts Tiger in that moment, as good as Tiger is playing, closing in on the leaderboard, it would have just been horrible. I mean, like you said, the guy would have had to just go into witness protection. He would have been done. His name and information would have been on social media within 15 minutes if he had knocked Tiger over and he couldn't complete the round or something like that. It would have been a horrible situation. That's probably one of the more least memorable moments or things that we would rather not think about from the Masters. When you reflect back on Sunday, what was your most memorable moment that you'll take away, or the image that'll stick in your head from this past Sunday?
Oh boy, that's a really good question, because I think there's several of them. As a father and as a big Tiger Woods fan, I'm just going to go right down the chalk with this one and say that when he picked up his son and had that embrace and had that hug in literally the same spot where him and Earl Woods had that embrace after the 1997 Masters, if that doesn't bring a tear to your eye, it doesn't really matter what Tiger's been through, how much of it was self-inflicted, anything like that. The fact is, Earl Woods has passed away years ago. Tiger's been without his father for a number of years. His kids haven't seen him win a major like this and haven't seen him be the Tiger Woods that he was in 1997. So the parallels of that moment got me really choked up. I'm not going to lie. So to me, if I'm just going to go chalk, I have to go that moment. But there were a few other ones, Justin. I think the moment where he makes some of his amazing shots, like on 12, where he sticks it to the middle of the green after Finau and Molinari in his same group had just dunked it in the water, and he gives Joey LaCava that stare like, hey, we're right here and we're not going anywhere. And then that other moment where he goes on to 13, makes a nice birdie there, plays well 14, 15, and then his tee shot on 16. I mean, it's just that Masters experience. He knows where to hit it for that Sunday pin, leave it up on the hill, watch it trickle back down. It almost went in the hole for an ace.
Oh my God. What if he gets a hole in one?
What if he aced that?
On that hole and he gets the major win?
The world would still be cheering if that happened. But I mean, the fact is, he just knew at that moment. And I felt like his tee shot on 17 then, where he blasted it down the middle of that fairway. And again, stares over at Joey, his caddy, and they just share a moment like, we've got this. We are in the driver's